Alright, let's make some delicious cherry pie. This recipe is so easy. So we're using packaged pie crust and we're using canned cherry pie filling. So really it can't get more easier than that, right? And the best thing about this is we still add some touches to this recipe that still make it taste very homemade, even though we're not making the filling or doing the pie crust homemade. So first we're going to start off and open up one of these packages to do the bottom crust for this cherry pie. Now I did just roll it out until it was rolled out to the circle that it was already previously made, if that makes sense. And then I placed it in my pie pan, but that is a kind of a mistake I guess I made, and I didn't know until after I cooked the crust. Because as you'll see in the video, the crust ended up moving down while it cooked, so it didn't cover completely the whole sides of my pie pan. So if you don't want to make that mistake like I did, the pie still turned out great. I just ended up using 1 can of pie filling instead of 2. You're going to want to take a roller and roll out this pie crust a little bit more so it fully covers your pie pan. And what I mean by fully cover is like cover the edges as well. Because my mistake was just pushing it around on the edges. I didn't think the pie crust would fall down while it cooked, but it did. And like I said, you'll see here just in a second what that looks like. So here it is when I put it in the oven. I put it in the oven for 15 minutes at 400 degrees. And while that was cooking, we got started on making our egg wash. This is what we're going to put on our top crust for the pie. Doing an egg wash is super important because it adds flavor, it makes the crust more flaky, and it just tastes better overall, I think. So I think an egg wash is super important to do on any top pie crust. Alright, and this is what your bottom dough should look like when you pull it out. This is me pointing out how, look at how it fell down and it didn't stay on the sides. Which is fine. Like I said, all we're going to do is just add 1 can of pie filling instead of 2, because we just want to make sure the pie filling stays underneath that crust, like it doesn't go over the sides, that way it's not spilling. So when you go to cut yourself out a piece of pie, everything still stays together. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically, if I were to add 2 cans instead of just this one, it would make it so that there's more pie filling covering the bottom crust, and that would just cause for more spilling when you're trying to cut yourself a piece of pie. So basically everything wouldn't hold together, if that makes sense. Sorry if I was a little bad at explaining that. But yeah, once you have your pie filling evenly spread out, we're going to work on putting on the top pie crust, which means rolling out that second piece, and we are going to cut it into strips. Now, I'm not perfect, as you see once I start cutting my strips. They're not even, they're not perfect, but I just try my best. I'm just eyeballing it when I cut it. So just do your best to evenly cut out the strips the best you can. The same thing goes for when you start weaving the top of the pie crust. I'm still learning how to do it. I still think when I do it, it doesn't look very pretty, but oh well, it's good enough. As long as you try, that's all that matters. And as long as the top of the pie is covered a good amount, I feel like that's good enough. But here I am trying to cut evenly, but failing miserably at the same time. But that's okay, because this channel is just about cooking good meals. It's not about looking perfect, it's only about tasting good. Because as long as it tastes good, that's all that matters, right? At least it's all that matters to me. I just want good food. Good food and good desserts. So here I am laying it out, just kind of eyeing it, because like I said, I'm still working on this. I'm not perfect. Like, I'll move it a few times to get it to where I think it looks a little bit better. And we are going to cut off the excess on the sides of the pie crust for the top. But I won't be doing that until everything is laid out. So now I'll be cutting off the sides. Like I said, this is good enough for me. I think the pie is pretty covered. It is a cherry pie, so I do want little pockets, and I feel like there's enough showing to where I don't want to add any more pie crust to cover it, if that makes sense. Alright, and now it's time for our egg wash. Now the egg wash, you just want to grab your little brush and you're just brushing it on the pie crust. You want to make sure you get each piece of pie crust covered in your egg wash. Like I said, this makes it so it's nice and flaky and adds some flavor, and also makes it that golden brown color. That picture perfect golden brown everyone is looking and going for. And the next step after this, since it is a cherry pie, is we are going to add some sugar on top of the egg wash to once again top it off and add a little bit of flavor to your crust. So here I am adding a little bit of sugar on each pie crust. Alright, now we're going to move on to baking. Simple but a little complicated. So we're going to bake for 10 minutes at 400 degrees, and once the 10 minutes up, we're going to cover it with aluminum foil, and we're going to drop the temperature to 375 for 35 minutes. And then once those 35 minutes are up, you're going to take your tinfoil off. You're going to cook it for another 10 minutes. You're just cooking that top crust all the way. And this is what it looks like after the 10 minutes. Everything is cooked, everything is golden brown, and it is perfectly done. And this is what your pie looks like when you cut yourself out a slice. I hope you guys enjoyed this simple cherry apple pie recipe. I am topping mine off with homemade whipped cream. And yes, those are the ingredients for the homemade whipped cream if you want to make it for yourself at home. Hope you enjoy.